Hello, Author Media readers. This is Chad Allen. I'm grateful for the opportunity to talk with you for just a few minutes today. I want to talk with you about at least one important factor that goes into writing a best-selling nonfiction book. Obviously, there are a variety of factors involved, and it's definitely more art than science. But one way to think about it is to divide the factors up into internal and external factors. Internal factors are factors that an author has some control over, like the size of one's platform or the quality of the writing, and obviously what comes out of an author internally. So sort of what comes out of one's heart onto the page would be another internal factor. External factors are things like luck. When a video goes viral, or when Oprah decides to make your book her book of the month selection, that kind of thing. That's typically beyond an author's control. Another factor that is also beyond an author's control is the cultural context in which an author finds him or herself. And that's the one I write about in the post that I published as a guest post for Author Media. And I wanted to give you some examples of how this has worked out in real life. The first example that comes to mind is The Purpose-Driven Life by Rick Warren, probably the best selling book besides the Bible in history, released in fall of 2002. Now think about that for a minute. A year before, we went through the worst terrorist attacks in this country in our history during 9/11. A year later, Rick Warren writes this book, Purpose-Driven Life, at a time when people were uncertain, kind of scrambling for meaning a little bit. And obviously Rick Warren had a massive platform that he leveraged for that book, but the message was right for the time it was published in. Two political books, one on the left side of the aisle, one on the right side of the aisle. God's Politics by Jim Wallace, published in 2006. That was a time when Christians were beginning to wonder about the possibility of, and this has been true for a long time, but more and more Christians were wondering about whether they could have their faith values inform their politics in a broader way than had been the case before that time. And Jim Wallace kind of became the voice for that movement. On the other side of the aisle, Dr. Ben Carson wrote a book called America the Beautiful early this year, 2013. And then he spoke at the National Prayer Breakfast, was very critical of the current administration. And again, he became kind of a voice for a sentiment that is brewing out there as I tape this. And then finally, a best-selling book I'm fond of because we published it, called Unchristian by David Chemin and Gabe Lyons, published in 2007. And this book really puts its finger on this issue that many people in the church are feeling, that Christianity is getting a bad rap, and we need to do something about it. So he gave voice to something a lot of us were already feeling. So in the post, I talk about Queen Esther, and she became queen, and then Mordecai asked her to intervene on behalf of the Israelites in front of the king at the time. And he says to her, "Who knows but that you were made royalty for such a time as this?" And I think one of the ways that a nonfiction book can become a bestseller is if it is a book for such a time as this, a book whose moment has arrived. So as you work on your projects and you think about your own nonfiction concept, think a little bit about cultural context, about the kind of book that the world really needs and wants in this moment. Thanks.